Parental fatigue, burnout. If you're feeling this, we get it. But there's one thing we use when we're feeling depleted. It's called Rehydrate. Delicious electrolytes that increase blood flow to your brain, organs, and nervous system, boosting your energy without anything nasty. Magic.
Next time you're feeling flat, give Rehydrate a go. Available at Coles.
It's a Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. We're Luke and Susie, parents of 3 little boys, and this is the podcast for those of us who are time-poor parents who just want answers now.
Tracy has written a question through, Luke.
Yes.
She says, parenting adults. We have a large family with 5 children, and I always thought the toddler/preschool years were the most challenging. Now, most are adults. We're finding this time much more stressful. Tracy, don't tell us that. We get tried advice to make them move out and to have, but that's not helpful when you want to help them succeed. How can we help them without driving us around the twist?
It's wonderful because I think it's the first time we've ever addressed a question to the show that's used the word trite. So I cannot wait to explore that.
Our parenting expert, Dr. Justin Coulson, is joining us in studio as we address parenting adults. I think probably most of your advice would be parents with young children, but parenting adults seems to be, from our audience, the questions that come through, a common issue trying to navigate this world. So Tracy's question, how can we help our adult children without them driving us round the twist?
It's funny, little kids, little problems. Big kids, big problems. Adult kids, adult problems. Hey, I got a message yesterday from a mum who was having similar kinds of issues, and she just said, I have young adults who have been out of the home and are actually transitioning back into our home.
Right.
And she said, our boundaries are having to be readjusted. I need some help doing this. For example, I want my children to be in bed, even though they're adults, between 10 and 10:30 p.m. But sometimes their friends rock up with a car at 10 p.m. and they're gone most of the night, crawling back from a nightclub at 5 a.m. And she's sort of saying, this is not how we want our family. There's younger kids in the house. We don't want them seeing this example. There's so many challenges. And I'm raising my own adult now. We sat down with our young adult
Here's
daughter.
one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, that's right. And when she turned 18, and we've told all of our kids, once you turn 18, if you choose to live in a home, there's still certain guidelines that matter. We no longer have a financial responsibility to you, though. You're living your life, and we're not going to tell you what to do, but we're going to ask that you respect our home. So I guess the short answer is, the trite answer is just move out of home. Tell the kids to go. I couldn't help saying that because in the email she obviously said that's the trite answer.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful, is it, really? Because we don't want to kick our kids out. We certainly don't want them to leave under a sense of, oh, mum and dad don't love me, they're sending me away because, grumbling and groaning. We want them to be leaving because they're embarking on the adventure of life and they're ready to go. They're excited about going. Kicking them out just doesn't feel good. Instead, we need to have some really challenging, mature conversations with them because they're adults, where we talk through how life needs to work as adults living together in the same home. The one thing that I'll say really clearly is that it's very, very, very hard to try the whole my house, my rules approach. Once they're teenagers, once they're about 13 or 14, you start to have to let go of control and move towards influence. But once they're 18, 19, 20, 21, even influence starts to step back and it becomes more of it should become more of a give and take relationship where we work together to find solutions.
If I'm, as a manager, I can have an adult conversation with a staff member who's maybe not doing the right thing, and I sit down and we can talk like grown-ups through some of the issues, and then we can create a plan to overcome some of the issues, and we can see eye to eye. If we don't end up seeing eye to eye, someone gets to make a decision. That means that we no longer have to deal with those adult conversations. The problem in this scenario and in family, and it's
you can't
beautiful.
Fire your kids.
There's no out, and if you try and claim the out, they call you bluff. And then even if you follow through, you feel horrible, and it's not the outcome that anybody wins.
These power differentials never feel good in long-term relationships. In a work environment where people are being paid to be there, it's a different situation. At home, what I think we need, and I've talked about this a number of times on the show, it still seems to me to be the best strategy in pretty much any relational context. We need the 3 E's. The 3 E's of effective discipline.
Every time we've spoken about the 3 E's on this show, I've pictured 6-year-olds. I've never pictured 23-year-olds, hypothetically.
Or 28 or 34. Move back in with 3 kids because the family's separated.
You've just given every parent of adult children a twitch and a little bit of a if they're moving back at 28 and 34. Okay.
It happens.
All right,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I don't want my boys to leave. Okay.
I've got a friend who thinks very, very differently. He has 5 children. He made them all share one single bedroom as they were growing up because he said it that way. If they're uncomfortable, they're going to move out quickly.
That's one way to save costs as well.
Okay, so we're sitting down with our adult children when we've got conflict, when they're not doing and living in our house like we think they should. We're going to sit down with them.
Well, we need to get the context right first. So timing is everything. We want to set it up so that we're having a day, we're having some fun. I think that it's a really nice thing if your circumstances will permit, and this is what I encourage many couples to do with their adult kids. Say to them, it's been a long time since we've spent really good quality time with you. How do you feel about if we get a hotel room or maybe a self-contained unit or something so that we've got multiple bedrooms? Let's have a couple of days away. Let's just make it a long weekend. Let's go and do something. And by the way, we are doing this with an agenda. Yeah. There's a few important conversations that we need to have, and we don't feel like having them around the house is going to work. Now, that won't suit everybody's circumstances. I acknowledge that immediately. But I think it's the best context in which to do it because you're in a new environment. Yeah. There's no external pressures. You actually feel like you're on holidays, and you've set it up ahead of time so that they know that there's going to be some hard conversations.
Yeah. And so in a replacement, to take that principle to go, let's go down to the beach for the day, let's go fishing, although sharp objects during these conversations probably not good. But to substitute the principle, a place where you can relax and be comfortable with each other.
Change of scenery and time. You really want to make sure if there's younger kids, get a babysitter for the day, whatever it takes. But you really want to make sure that you've got time and you want to set it up so that your adult child knows we're going to be talking about some of the stuff, the awkward stuff, the hard stuff. Then you simply have the explain, explore, empower conversation. But I'd recommend, a lot of parents just go with the explode conversation.
Yep.
But I think explaining and exploring is much more effective. I probably wouldn't start with explain when you're talking to an adult child. Rather, I would say, let's talk about your life. Let's talk about how we can support you. It's not tell me what you're doing with your life, what direction are you taking, you're getting older and you need to get on with things. Rather, it's how can we support you to achieve your goals? What are you working towards? And you might discuss the various areas of your life of their life that matter. What are you doing financially, relationally, educationally, career, etc., spiritually, the things that matter most to you. Then you simply say, okay, well, now that we understand what you're all about, we feel that we would like to explore a little bit about how things are going at home. Is there anything that you're unhappy with at home? Again, get them talking. Let them know that you really care about them. And then let them know, explain to them the things that you're struggling with. Yeah. And do it gently, do it sensitively, do it in a way that recognizes that you know that they're not used to these kinds of situations. It's tricky. And then you empower. So you've explained and you've explored, then you empower. You say, well, where do we go from here? What do you think is a viable solution? Yeah. Because my 25-year-old son, I'm sorry, but you sitting in your room for 14 hours a day, 4 days a week, and playing games, and then going and working at nights and having 4 days a week part-time down at the local supermarket, that's not going to cut it in our home. We're not okay with that. You don't want to do it in an attacking way. You want to do it sensitively. But ultimately, we're trying to find a solution together. How do we fix this? What do we do about that? Let's talk about board. Let's talk about contribution in the home. Yeah. Let's talk about what happens if you don't fulfill your end of the deal. Can we get really clear on that? And as parents, because we love our kids, we've got to make sure that they understand clearly our goal is to help, not to hurt. Yeah. We're not interested in having conflict.
We have to end this. We're over time now. But when you have that conversation, the fear is that when you talk about that 4 days, the part-time, you're sitting there playing your games and they go, that's what I want to do, and nothing you can do about it. And you're at this impasse. Yeah,
and because they're adults, technically they're right. And at that point, you've got to be willing to either say, all right, well, we'll accept that because you're an adult, but we don't like it. Or, all right, well, if that's your decision, we're going to have to do something that's really hard and we wish we didn't have to do it, but we're going to have to ask you to make other plans. Yeah. And then you map out a time frame. Now, I don't like that. I think it's horrible.
Yeah.
But in some circumstances, there may be no alternative.
Yeah.
Probably not in a gaming sort of alternative,
Yeah.
but if there's problematic gambling or drinking, if there's problematic behaviours that are leading to issues for younger kids or issues for your child, the whole way through, though, your child needs to know absolutely unequivocally that you love them and that you just want to help them.
Yeah.
As soon as they feel like you're not trying to help them, you're trying to hurt them, it goes south.
Yeah.
Listening to the questions that you had at the beginning there, that to have this conversation, I think that means that the parents need to implement my 3 L's, which is listen, listen and listen, which is hard to do that without judgment. Dr. Justin Coulson, happy to be your partner in this parenting expert thing.
Let's write a book. Let's do this together.
Thanks so much for answering Tracy's question today.
That's a pleasure.
If you enjoy the podcast, please take a moment to rate it on iTunes. When you do that, it increases the visibility of the podcast and helps more people to find it. And if you're not a subscriber, jump onto Apple Podcasts and subscribe so that you can hear every episode as soon as it is uploaded. For more information on all of Dr. Justin Coulson's books, programs and podcasts, go to happyfamilies.com.au, or if you'd like to have Dr. Justin Coulson speak at your school or event, go to justincoulson.com.